Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the security challenges being posed by drones. Now, the potential use of drones in a terrorist incident or attack against a critical infrastructure and soft targets is a growing concern for law enforcement agencies worldwide as the availability of drone technology becomes more widespread. Days after 3 people, including 2 Indians, were killed in Abu Dhabi in a drone attack claimed by Yemen's Houthi rebels, the UAE government has ordered to stop all flying operations of private drones and light sports aircrafts in the Gulf country for a month. In the past few years, there have been several cases of drones being used by terrorists and for planned and attempted attacks in various parts of the world. India has also witnessed increased rogue drone activity along its western border with Pakistan in the recent years, with drones dropping weapons, ammunition and drugs as well. Today, we will discuss and analyze this threat and how this challenge can be tackled effectively. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us Mr. S.P. Shukla. He's the president of SIDM. We're also joined by Mr. Sami Joshi, CEO of New Space Research and Technologies Private Limited, and Mr. R.K. Narang, defense policy expert, is also joining us. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Sansad Television. Let's first begin by making our viewers understand a bit more about drones, the drone industry and the scope when we talk about the use of drones. I'll start with you, Mr. Naranga, since you're involved with the Drone Federation of India as well. If you could give us an overview, and then we will bring in the industry experts as well to make us understand what's happening there in terms of technology.
Vijayji, drones have been in existence for decades. Now, what has changed that world is finding itself threatened by this drone technology. Actually, all air defense systems are suited for picking up larger and faster airborne platforms. In the last few years, the technological developments have made it possible for smaller drones to fly slow, low, and these systems are not able to pick up these sister unmanned aerial vehicles. So as a result, air defense systems not being suitable is making these drones much more potent than what they can do as a smaller system.
Okay.
The second part is these drones are providing much more economical and commercial viability to nations. And thirdly, easy availability of these drones, low cost, is making a lot of commercial sense for the industry. And I would like to highlight here that drones do not pose threat. The threat is posed by the rogue element. If air attack was done by the rogue element, you don't stop flying. Similarly, the way drone attacks happen, you don't stop drones, because solution to this problem also lies in development of drone and counter drone technologies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll come to that part as well. That's a very important and an interesting aspect which you mentioned there, Mr. Naranga, that the counter technologies, that's one part. Mr. Shukla, I'd like to bring in here, in terms of making us understand not only the technology vis-a-vis drones keeps on changing, as we move forward, but also it's more widespread globally. So why, in your views, drones are posing that security challenge? There are various use of drones and there are immense possibilities in various sectors as well.
I would compare drone with any kitchen implement, say knife. You can use a kitchen knife to cut vegetables and make your food. Same knife can be used to cut somebody's throat. Kitchen knife is not a threat. What you use it for decides pros and cons of it. I'm chairman of Mahindra Defense. A Scorpio can be used to go to office, to go for shopping. And same Scorpio can be used by a terrorist to spray bullets on a crowd. Therefore, we cannot define and implement And drone is nothing but an implement, whether it is good or bad, or whether it is a risk. What we are talking about here is both civilian use, industrial use, and military use of drones.
Mhm.
And then, of course, fourth use is mischievous terrorist use. Drones find application in all sectors of economy. In agriculture, they are used to spray pesticides. Now, you can use the same drone for spraying poison also, but then you cannot deny yourself that drone is very efficient way of spraying pesticides. For surveillance, in Australia, drones have been used when they have sheep spread over thousands of hectares to keep an eye on the sheep. In mining, drones are used in difficult conditions of monitoring industrial installations where there may be poisonous gases, high temperature, high pressure steam.
Mhm.
Drones are sent to look at whether installations are working well in hazardous environment. Now, of course, drones are being used for delivery of medicine, and in future, it can be used for consumer items. But today, if you need to deliver medicine very fast in one congested part of Bombay, drone will perhaps be the easiest and fastest way of delivery.
Okay.
So my submission here is we should not brand drone as a security risk. We need to see it does not fall in the wrong hands. Today, China is the largest producer of small drones in the world.
Mhm.
Most of the mischief is made by smaller drones, which can be bought for small amounts of money. For $200, you can get a very efficient drone which can do harm.
Indeed.
Whereas military drones, UAVs, they are far more expensive, costing hundreds of crores of rupees. Today, you have UAVs which can cross high seas from one country to another.
Okay.
So let us be clear, few companies make high cost, low volume drones,
Okay.
which are used for military applications. But many companies can make high volume, low cost drones, which can do the mischief.
Yeah.
I'll stop here.
Okay, okay, that indeed is a very important differentiation there. Mr. Joshi, I'd like to bring in Mr. Sami Joshi here. Mr. Joshi, your views on the security challenges which are being posed by drones, and as both the other panelists are pointing out, of course, the fault doesn't lie with the machine and the technology, but with the intentions. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I'll just take you back to this image from the United Arab Emirates attack a few days back. Now, we are still in the public domain, not aware what kind of drone was used, but it was definitely not the run-of-the-mill nano or a micro drone available, which could have caused the manner of harm that is being indicated, and which also caused some unfortunate loss of lives. But when this report came, what was painted as a picture was a very standard commercial drone available, even on Amazon.
Mhm.
So I think it lies more to do with the fair psychosis of a new technology, which is just being ingested. And, the understanding, since the understanding of the same is varied between, the various components, especially with drones, which come in civilian applications and which come in civilian applications, industrial applications, and military applications. So Mr. Shukla, he defined the differences very well here.
Okay.
So going forward, what are the security risks? See, with the induction of any robotic platform, which is equipped, with varied stages of autonomy, there is always a risk. The risk is in the intent of the user, not in the drone itself. The drone has been designed, the same drone which will do an agricultural spray on an autonomous mode can, do a lot of, harmful intents also in the same manner.
Okay.
So the security risk is more in terms of identifying what kind of technology is coming in, identifying the likely usage in a certain area, And last but not the least, focusing more on the capabilities of a drone which are being deployed, rather than the drone itself, which is available as a commercial platform. The drone which is actually scaling up opportunities, scaling up the economy, creating more jobs. So the whole point is that the security risk, the security concern of the drone eventually lies in the use case rather than in the drone itself. And that is that is what we in the industry also feel. Don't shoot the messenger, and just go ahead with actually identifying what is the root cause of the same.
Indeed, that's definitely the point there. And I'll come back to you in terms of the counter options available vis-a-vis the technology part is concerned. Mr. Narang, we've set out to find a way to, tackle these challenges. Of course, as all of you are pointing out, the machine or the technology itself can't be, blamed for it. And as Samir was referring to it, that don't shoot the messenger. But then we will also have to think of ways to tackle these challenges, to counter this security threat. So where do we stand in terms of countering this threat? Because, of course, if it's available at such a cheap price and so easily, then obviously mischievous elements will have a go at it. But what are our options in terms of tackling those threats?
See, drones serve drones actually are an evolving technology, and so is the counter drone technology. And this was noticed, when we had a attack at Jammu on 27 June this last year. We realized a lot of innovators, Indian innovators, were able to come up and provide a counter drone solution. Similarly, DRDO also stepped up and came up with a more comprehensive hybrid counter drone system, which had even a hard kill system. Now, the issue is this is an evolving technology, so counter drone technology also has to evolve. Therefore, there is these D&D initiatives which have contributed to India developing some of the counter drone technologies. These have to be taken forward. Now, if we look at the counter drone technology development in the worldwide scenario, most of the countries are investing money to develop these technologies. US DoD has earmarked about $404 million for R&D and only $83 million for the procurement. Similarly, that is for ground-based drones, counter drone systems. But another program, they are spending about $85 million to develop a counter drone system for the airborne system. As far as India is concerned, we have developed the soft kill counter drone systems by the industry and soft and hard kill by the DRDO. But the next phase is we have to evolve these systems into a autonomous system. The next, in addition to that, we have to develop some hard kill counter drone capabilities, which require more funding and more intensive research. So our D&D initiatives like IDEX, Meher Baba of Indian Air Force, Bhumi of BSF, these projects or these D&D initiatives have to be taken to the next level. The funding has to be increased a little bit, and maybe we need to have a second phase of development of these technologies to address our security concerns in the long run. So we have the potential in our industry to develop these capabilities. Only thing needed is to persist with our D&D initiatives. Whatever capability we have received, we have to take it to the next level. Vijayji.
Okay. Mr. Shukla, two questions emerge from what Mr. Narang is saying. One, of course, from the industry perspective, our viewers would want to know, both from you and Mr. Joshi as well, how much of the capacity do we have in terms of developing those counter drone, technology? And second part is, what is the best way to move forward in this direction? Should the industry and the government work hand in hand to try and develop newer options, newer technologies as well, and an integrated mechanism comes in later, or there are some other ways as well? Mr. Shukla?
I would say that one has to see the threat within the country and the threat which comes from across the border. The two have to be dealt with and understood separately. Very often when we talk of drones and the threat from the drones, we talk about attack in UAE, which came from another country across the border. It was not initiated from within UAE.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk in Indian context, it came from across the border on line of control across from Pakistan.
Indeed.
Now, two situations are different. Across the border, we do not have ability to control what goes on, and therefore, technology will only be the way to stop them, to jam them, shoot them down. Various technologies are available, and that work has to be done along with Ministry of Defense, other paramilitary forces, and the industry. But second element is very popular and very important, and that is within the country. I will give an example to drive the point home. Opium can be an addiction, and opium is essential part of many medicines which are painkillers.
Mm-hmm.
So opium has to be grown, and there are districts of India where opium is grown under official supervision. So opium is grown, but only for medicinal purpose and not for people to get addicted. Now, this is where manufacturing of drones beyond certain size will need certain element of supervision,
Okay.
certain element of self-discipline by the industry. I do not want controls and regulation. It is the industry which will have to undertake self-discipline, that when they are going beyond certain capacity, which can be used for mischief, they are careful that it does not fall in the hands of wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
From outside, one can say that unassembled CKD drones can be brought into India for mischief, but that is far more difficult. Like most issues, cross-border will remain our bigger focus, that what mischief can be done from our two hostile neighbors, which we have to counter, and there the technology is the only solution.
Okay.
My previous speaker said very rightly, both are evolving technologies. Drones are evolving and anti-drone technology, both are evolving, and they need to keep in step. And this is where government will need to come in with a budget to make people focus on anti-drone technology. US and Israel are two leading producers of military drones. And I had mentioned earlier, China is actually in consumer or civil small drones, which are visible all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
It is government which will need to come in here. That is my submission. Because when it comes to defense, without government support, the impetus does not come to undertake such projects.
Indeed.
Many companies on their own initiative will develop these technologies. Government's impetus will make the development faster.
Okay.
So that we don't fall behind the evolution of technology which is happening in drones. Anti-drone technology must stay in step or maybe one step ahead.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Sami Joshi, your views there in terms of, where do we stand vis-a-vis the development of anti-drone technology and these aspects which were highlighted by Mr. Shukla as well, as to what should the industry be doing and what is it that the government should be doing so that we remain in tandem with the overall global developments in not only drone technologies but also anti-drone technologies?
Yeah. So just adding on to what Mr. Shukla said, we need to identify first what is the threat. The threat here, of course, is the drones. Now, these drones, can be cross-border or internally used. So the aspect which needs to look into first is, can we defend against drones all across India? I sincerely would want to believe that, but it is just not possible.
Mm-hmm.
It is not only that in India we are unable to do this, to defend all our vital areas, VIP areas against drone attacks, but it is also impossible for a leading consumer or a manufacturer country like America to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Drone technology, it's a newly fed facet which will take time to counter. So first is it is better for the government to identify some very core VIP areas or areas which need to be defended and focus all synergies in terms of drone defenses, as well as creating that awareness within those areas. These can be, identified places like air bases, like, VIP areas in cities, etc. The second aspect is, we need to understand fundamentally what are the various defenses against, drones. So these can be kinetic defenses and non-kinetic. Mostly in India, a lot of work has happened in the non-kinetic field where, you use jammers to disrupt the communication of the drones, or you would want to, disrupt the GPS signals or spoof them. So these are called soft kill measures, and they are the non-kinetic means to undertake a certain task. In addition, you can use also kinetic ways where you can use bullets or guns. DRDO has developed a laser. Similarly, efforts all across the world are relying on a laser weapon which has a yield which can spend some time on the drone and disrupt its mechanisms, electronics, etc. The third way is also through a very high power electromagnetic waves which can be mounted on the drone and disrupt it. So these are certain fields where we are still evolving as technology. But what is very important to realize is that the drones, if they start to evolve in the autonomous avatar, that is likely to happen in the next year or 2 years, you will realize a lot of soft kill ways of taking them down will not work. If a drone is fully autonomous and it does not rely on communication from the ground control,
Indeed,
or if it can use GPS denied technologies to navigate, then your soft kill measures will be found wanting.
okay.
So the overall plan to take them on has to be a 10 to 15-year-old effort where it needs to be identified what kind of drones are going to evolve.
Okay.
Because the cycle of development, as Shukla sir had also just spoken rightly, is that one needs to be actually one step ahead of countering it rather than one step behind.
Indeed.
And given the nature of this technology availability all across the world with various companies, various organizations, various individual level people working on it, and even a small tech, autopilot can make a small difference. And access to such technologies is something which the government has to focus on. I think all subsystem components in India are controlled and regulated by DGFT, and this is the right way to monitor. And
Indeed.
the DGCA is also insisting all drones need to be registered under the digital sky format, and manufacturers have to go through certificate of airworthiness. So there is a very good process put in place.
Okay.
And however, if anybody has to do something unwantedly, he can always bypass this. You have guns, AK-47 smuggled into India.
Well, yes, but then there are laws in place to go ahead and tackle that as well. Right now, the question which we are debating is the issue of being in league with the counter drone or anti-drone technologies as well. Thank you so much, Mr. S.P. Shukla and Mr. Narang, as well as Mr. Sami Joshi, for sharing your views and insight with us and our viewers. As our experts were pointing out, clearly, when we talk about the drones or the drone technology, it's a very fast evolving field where a lot of developments are happening, a lot are expected, and so will be in the entire drone technology arena as well. The focus has to be to stay in tandem or stay in league with these global developments. Also look at ways and means wherein the mischievous use of drones can be checked, and so that we can tackle the security threat aspect as well. Once again, before we leave, wishing all of you a very happy Republic Day from our entire team. Keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.